Millionaire at age 30, built a $100 million net worth empire.
I should be dead, and I didn't realize how fat and out of shape I was.
Look at every negative thing, you can see the positive in it.
So my opponent has 16 fights, 16 wins. He has a very high knockout ratio. I think it's like 85%. Obviously, my ratio is 100%.
You become really world champion.
Alan Graves is the founder of a 9-figure supplement company focused on longevity and performance. He's built and scaled multiple businesses, becoming a recognized force in the entrepreneurial space. But at the age of 33, he chose to enter an entirely new arena, professional boxing. Now 3-0 with a 100% knockout ratio, Alan steps into his toughest challenge yet, facing Maxi James, a 16-0 undefeated WBC fighter, at the FightGecko Combat Series for the Intercontinental title on April 5th in Dubai. In this exclusive interview with Fabian Ene, his boxing coach and the founder of FightGecko, we explore the mindset behind scaling a 9-figure empire, the transition from entrepreneur to elite athlete, why facing Maxi James is more than just a fight, it's a statement, how discipline, pressure, and purpose fuel high-level performance. This episode is a rare look into the life of a man who refuses to settle, in business, in sport, and in life. Tune in now and discover what it truly means to chase greatness.
Welcome to today's interview with Mr. Alan Graves. Millionaire at age 30, built a $100 million net worth empire at age 34, and now he got bored with all the businesses, so he started to fight professionally. How are you today?
That's right. I'm very good, thank you. How are you, Fabi?
Also amazing talking to you, of course. So Alan, you're pretty successful right now, but how was the life before boxing, before entrepreneurship for you?
Well, I was a little bit of a tearaway, so I was spending my time around the wrong people, doing the wrong things, making bad decisions. I was doing drugs, drinking a lot of alcohol, and violence, but not in a good way, just on the streets. So yeah, I wasn't particularly useful to society basically for the entirety of my 20s.
So we have a very similar background. What was your specific turning point when you then decided to change something?
Well, I think, when you've been doing it for 15 years, just chasing the next high, looking for the next party, it gets boring after a while. You don't feel good about yourself inside. And alongside that, although I was an addict, I was a high functioning addict. And so I'd perform quite well in different jobs. And I had a lot of bad bosses that would make me promises and then not keep them. And so a mixture of having enough of bad bosses and having enough of, my own self-worth outside of work not being great, I decided I was going to work on myself and also work for myself as well.
So how did you start going into the world of business?
Well, I didn't really know what to do. I've never been one for, taking courses or particularly mentorship, even though I'm now a mentor to other people. It just wasn't really the way that I was going to learn. I was learning by doing. And so, yeah, I came across the fact that aging is malleable. We don't have to age. We can slow down the aging process. And even now we can reverse it. And I didn't realize that was possible. And so when I did, I thought there's got to be something here, and decided to dedicate a portion of my life to working on that.
So tell us a little bit more about the story. You researched how you can reverse your aging because you lived a life of 100 years and then you found out that there is a need in the market, or how was it exactly?
Yeah, so essentially I found out there was a couple of supplements at the time called Enemen and resveratrol that had been shown to reverse the aging of old mice. And then not only did they make them into young mice, but they kind of made them super mice. And so I tried to buy some for myself and I couldn't buy. There was nowhere that was like either affordable or trustworthy to be able to buy this supplement from. And so I thought, well, why don't I provide some? I can't be the only one that wants to buy this stuff. I can provide somewhere that can do that. And as I did that, I then realized that I needed a lot of scientific knowledge. I needed to know a lot about research, which I didn't have. And so I brought on board a load of researchers, and then basically Do Not Age, which is the name of the company that I started, was born. And we're a health research organization now. We've done clinical trials on every habitable continent. We do millions and millions in turnover. We've put many millions into the research, and we've also helped over 1 million people globally on their health journey as well.
I see also recently you built your foundation where you build schools.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Alan Graves Foundation. I've always, since starting my foray into business. I've always been charitable. And now I just have this foundation so that I can do it officially. And obviously, if people want to give as well, they can do. I've given to charities in the past and then found out later down the line that only a very small amount of the money I gave went to where it was supposed to go because of admin costs and staff costs and all these different red tape. And so my foundation is run by myself and volunteers only. And so every single penny goes to where it should do. We've helped a lot of people in Mexico, in some underprivileged children in Bali and Indonesia. We've built schools and houses there. We've just put $40,000 back in again to rebuild houses there, schools there, apologies. And that should be done by the end of this year. We've also feed workers in Dubai alongside another charity called Life Guided by Light. And so last weekend, we fed over 3,000 workers. And again, it's a relatively small amount of money for us in the scheme of things, but it makes a big impact. So basically just helping underprivileged people and trying to do good in the world.
Giving back, very important.
Yeah.
Before we switch to the boxing topic, which most people will be waiting for, one question. How did the wealth, the freedom change your life, both to the upside and to the downside?
I don't think wealth and time freedom changes you as a person. I think it amplifies who you already were and just allows you to be yourself more, which is obviously can be a good thing and can be a bad thing depending on your character and personality.
Yeah.
And yeah, it gives you more time to either do good or more time to do bad. And so thankfully I'd started making better decisions by then. And so it just allowed me to help other people more and to work on self-improvement more, which is one of the things I try and do. One of the other negatives, I think, is something that you're not prepared for, is how your old circle of friends and family and people will react to you going from rags to riches, if you like. A lot of people will say things like, oh, you've changed.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and exactly. My response to that is always, yeah, I have. Isn't that a good thing? But again, I think all it is people's insecurities. They know that they came from a similar background to you. You went on to do X, Y, and Z. They didn't. Makes them feel bad about themselves. And I think that's pretty much all life is we're all trying to make ourselves feel better about ourselves.
So you reached basically financial freedom, you built your wealth, but then you reached out to me and said, hey, let's start a professional boxing fight.
That's right.
What the hell was in your mind back then?
So I've always loved boxing. It's a fantastic sport, pugilism, and I always had in the back of my mind that I could fight and I would be able to box. And then I did some sparring in like summer of 2023, and I didn't realize how fat and out of shape I was, and I got beat up in sparring, and I was like, oh no. And so I thought, well, I was 33. Yeah, I was 33. And so I thought, well, if ever I'm going to do it, it's now, because time is kind of running out. So that was when I made the decision to, move other things to the side and focus on training for 6 months, put myself through hell, and try and see if I can at least perform well in a professional boxing ring, win or lose, as long as I can, perform and compete, then I'll be happy. And then obviously, as you now know, it went well and got the win, and now I'm on 3 wins.
Yes. So we started, for the audience, last winter training together. First online coaching while we were traveling the world. Then on the Palm, won the first fight, won the second fight. Before the second fight, there was a big accident. And then what happened? Why did you fall a bus? What happened there?
So after the first fight, it was, celebration time. And so maybe had a little bit of alcohol. And then after the night out, got the taxi back home. We lived on the Palm. If anyone doesn't know Dubai, the Palm is, once you get there, it's the actual fronds where you live are very quiet and there's not much traffic going up and down. But still, I should have looked. I got out of the taxi and then there's hardly any traffic. So I just crossed the road without looking. The driver, it was 2 or 3 in the morning. So the driver obviously wasn't looking either. And I was crossing the road. Driver hit into me. And unfortunately, I lost that one. And so, yeah.
LN0 bus 1.
Yeah, exactly. Went into a coma for a little bit. Had some damage to the knees. And yeah, still have some problems with the knees from that, but I should be dead. So really, I'm very lucky.
It was very funny because we were in fight preparation and actually we trained 4 rounds for the second fight.
Yeah.
We trained 4 full rounds and somehow you won it.
Yeah.
Congratulations to that.
Yeah, so I think I knew that my knee wouldn't hold up. It was only 6 weeks or so after the accident when the fight was, and so I decided my only chance of winning was to jump on him immediately, try and stop him early. And thankfully, I caught him cold, and he wasn't expecting it. And within about 45 seconds of the first round, we got the win.
Worked well. This was the 2-0. Then we had the 3-0, which was against the journeyman. And some people are talking, oh, this opponent was weak. At some point, you just need to get weak opponents, right? To build your record, to build your confidence. So that's why now Alan got a little bit too much motivated. Now you got a 16-0 fighter.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's right. That's right. So I think again, for those that don't know, in boxing, you usually start at a certain level and then you step up and slowly and slowly and slowly and slowly go as far as you can, as your talent can take you. But I decided to compress time. I wanted to jump up to fight for an intercontinental title, which is basically the one before the world title. And so my opponent has 16 fights, 16 wins. He has a very high knockout ratio. I think it's like 85%. Obviously, my ratio is 100%, even though it's only 3 fights. So it's going to be all action-packed. I think my focus now is, obviously, for me personally, I'm self-improvement, trying to get better as a boxer. But in terms of the nights that I want to put on, I want them to be ones that people remember forever and go, oh, yeah, you remember that when Alan Graves fought Maxi James, and it was a great spectacle. And whoever wins, as long as it's a good fight and there's a lot of action for people, that's what I'll be happy with.
For the people who don't know, 5th April in Dubai, the Agenda Arena. It will be live streamed. Also, the tickets are down below. But what interests me now is, what's the similarities from building a business to boxing training? Do you see some similarities there?
Yeah, I think because to be successful in anything, not just those things, you have to make the right decisions, and that ultimately means sacrifice. So right now, we're sat here talking to each other. We are sacrificing literally every other thing in the entire world to be here. And so a lot of people don't like to think in terms of sacrifice, but whatever you're doing with your time, you are literally sacrificing everything else. And so making sacrifices is very, very important. When you do something like a boxing training camp, you can't really do much else because you're either training, eating, probably not the food that you want to eat, or you're resting or repairing. And before we came here, I've had an hour-long massage today, and it's not a pleasant massage when you're doing boxing training. It's a sports massage, and so your life is essentially dedicated to this one thing. And you may well then go on the 5th of April. I may not perform. I may get knocked out within the first 30 seconds, and 3 months of hard training doing nothing else will be wasted, so to say. And in business, it's the same. Because if you really want to succeed, you have to have that singular mindset, particularly when you're first starting your business.
Why do you sacrifice everything for the fight, for the 4th fight?
Because I think I have delusions of grandeur. I have in my head, I think I can compete with this guy who has been doing it for 20 years and is obviously clearly a better boxer than me on paper. But yeah, I'd like to think that even if I'm wrong about that and I can't compete and I get battered, I want to be able to know in myself that I did everything I could to perform the best I could. And then if I fail, then I can say, okay, fair enough. I failed because he's better than me, which is absolutely okay. What is not okay is to be like, I failed because I had the KFC and I didn't go to training and,
What's the biggest life lesson boxing taught you?
I think the importance of discipline. Definitely the importance of discipline. I have seen it both ways. People with a lot more talent than me that I beat up in sparring because I was disciplined and trained hard. And the other way as well. If I've not been on my game or if I've been away from the ring for a few months and then I come back to it, I can spar with somebody who has nowhere near my skill level. But if they're fit and they've been training hard, they'll beat me. Because, so it doesn't matter how much talent you have. You must also work hard.
Knowing that you fight someone 16-0 who is doing it since 20 years, does it scare you? And if yes, what's your biggest fear about it?
No, it doesn't scare me. The only fear I have for fight night is not performing as well as I know I can. I mean, maybe if you ask me when I'm walking to the ring, it might be different, because the ring walk is always when you know if you trained hard enough in camp, because that's when you'll either be like, yep, I'm cool, I got this, I know I worked hard, or you kind of go, oh no, I'm not sure, I'm not sure if I did enough. And so, yeah, maybe I'll say different then. But no, right now I'm not scared or fearful. The only fear I have is not performing to the best of my ability.
So, and we both know because we both stepped into the ring, when it's fight day, the nervosity goes up. And don't you ask yourself, why am I really doing this? And my question is, why are you really doing this?
Sometimes I do. And I think, like after a hard sparring session, not just after, but like maybe the day after or the second day when your head's still hurting and there's bruises and you're lying there and everything hurts a little bit. Sometimes you kind of think, why do I do this? But if your why is bigger than the pain, then you'll keep doing it.
What's your why, the deeper why?
So my why is multitude of things. I want to have a big family one day. And when I do, I want my children, particularly my sons, to want to emulate their father. And that's what keeps me going. It's my why in a lot of life, really, which is the way I think about it is, what would I want my sons to do? And I would want my sons to put their 100% effort in. And it's about bloodline and legacy as well, I think, with the surname. And so I want to make sure that I uphold the Graves surname.
So what's the overall legacy you want to leave behind?
Somebody that made the world a better place and somebody that always gave 100%. Yeah, so I think they're the two things.
If you could talk now to your younger version and you would know this with the legacy already there, what would you tell him? Obviously, don't do all the shit and don't do drugs. But
Yeah, I think it would be quite simple. Just start sooner. I'm happy with everything I've done since I did start trying hard. Not that that's been perfect and there's been a lot of mistakes, but I'm happy because I was trying to do the right thing, whereas before I wasn't. And that's not to say that young people shouldn't have a time where they go and experience the world and enjoy it and maybe party a little bit or whatever makes them happy. I'm not actually against that, but I am against doing it for 15 years and wasting far too much of your life. So yeah, my advice to my younger self would be start trying sooner.
how do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? Yeah, somebody that made the world a better place. I'm hoping that my foundation, which is really named after my grandfather, but was started by myself, I'm hoping this is the thing that's going to outlive me, and going to be ran for many, many years and do positive in the world.
If someone's watching right now who doesn't like his life, who maybe get inspired by you, what kind of advice would you give to the audience?
I would say sit down and think about what's really genuinely important to you. And that's a difficult question to answer because you're probably getting a lot of information and marketing and other people's opinions all the time. But try and find what's actually important to you. And when you find what's important to you, write those things down and then build your life around that. Because until you know what's important to you, you'll never be able to live a life that's congruent with what you want.
If you could pick one lesson which really helped you the most, what would it be? What's one lesson that really changed your life? If you find one.
One lesson that changed my life.
So for me, it was perspective, understanding that everything that happens, you can look from two sides, and every bad thing that happens has a good side. Once I understood this, also every loss, every hit by a bus,
Yeah.
every shit that happens in life, if you watch it from a different perspective, every negative thing, you can see the positive in it. That
Yeah.
was for me, which really changed my life.
And that's a great point. I think that's one of life's great lessons. Using the bus example, I think I took my knees for granted because I'd never had any knee pain. They always just worked, and so I never thought about them. Now I have a lot of knee pain. I thought, I should have been grateful for those 33 years when they were perfectly fine. And that makes me more grateful for the rest of my body, which is mostly in good shape.
How does it feel that people look up to you now? Successful businessman, fit, money.
Oof. I get a little bit of imposter syndrome because I'm still the same guy from the council estate in England. I just make better decisions now. I guess it's a good thing if I can inspire people to start making better decisions in their life, then I'm happy with that and I'm proud of that. But nobody should be Nobody should be overawed because we're all human and we all make mistakes, and I'm certainly not perfect.
What's the next steps? Let's imagine you knock your opponent out against all odds. What would be the next steps of 2025, 2026 for Alan Graves?
If I knock my opponent out, then I'm gonna go and buy a lottery ticket. Yeah, I mean, I'll be looking for the next fight. You know, I'll probably just keep fighting. There's only one more level after this fighter, so if I do win, then I would then fight a world level opponent and see what happens. And then, of course, I think the main focus aside from boxing is going to be to continue to grow the foundation, and find more people that need our help, and donate and give time and money to those people.
So once you reach the top level, let's play it through, you become really world champion. Do you think you will stick to boxing or try something else? Because I see you try lots of different things you don't know yet, or...
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think before each camp, you have to have a serious conversation with yourself, because the one thing I will say is, whilst I get better and better at boxing each time, I'm only on my 4th camp, and each one gets harder and harder and harder. So you have to really have a conversation with yourself about, is this something I want to do? Because if it's not a hell yes, then you should not do it. You know, boxing isn't something you should do 50%. You have to be 100% in. So yeah, I think for the rest of this year, definitely I'm going to still be doing boxing. After that, who knows?
I have no questions prepared anymore.
A fight night like never before in the heart of Dubai. 21 entrepreneurs, millionaires, and business leaders are ready to step into the ring to conquer new challenges, half of them for the first time. This will be the event of the year, featuring Warren, the mechanic Spencer, Hadi Hassoun, looking to prove his mental fortitude on the professional stage, and the undefeated Alan Graves, a 3-0 professional boxer and multi-millionaire, fighting the undefeated 16-0 Maxi James. To top it off, we are giving away a Rolex and more prizes worth 100,000 dirham live in the arena and on the live stream April 5th in the agenda.